You have measurements for her?
37, 24, 35. Oh. She looks hotter.
15 is really cool because they went in a kind of controversial direction. Usually there's a bunch of girls and guys kind of in the party.
Yeah.
This story focuses on the story of 4 guys.
Are they hot? Best woman for if the man was going to have her, I would say.
What's up, it's Charles. It's actually been a little while since my last video on this channel. I've been a busy boy. I have been putting up videos almost weekly on my Japanese channel though. So if you want to keep in touch, hit up Charles Talk. Anyways, today I'm coming at you to discuss a very important topic. As you may know, September 7th of last week marked Final Fantasy VII's 20th anniversary since it was released in North America. Hard to believe it's that old. Wow. I remember getting my hands on that game as a kid and being totally blown away by the amazing cutscenes, the massive story. It was really just a fantastic experience that really stands up to this day. Anyways, beyond any other, I think there has been one debate that has burned fiercely amongst Final Fantasy fans for the past 20 years. And that debate is around this question: Aerith or Tifa? This has been a source of endless contention on the internet. Who between these two girls is the best for Cloud? Who is the most attractive? Who has the best personality? And who would you want to be with if you could choose between Aerith and Tifa? And if an imaginary character actually wanted to date you? I think that the arguments around this perceived love triangle between Aerith, Tifa, and Cloud is definitely going to flare up again soon with the remake of Final Fantasy VII just over the horizon. Hopefully it's actually released on time. And so I felt like it's a good time to bring this discussion up again. And today I want to solve it once and for all. And the way we're going to do this is by vetting the question, Aerith or Tifa, through a very rigorous and statistically sound process. By following this process, I'm pretty sure we can finally arrive at a decision that is satisfactory and concrete. Essentially, there are 2 steps to this trustworthy process. Step 1, ask people on the internet. Step 2, ask my mom. So before we jump into this process, I just want to give a quick refresher on Aerith and Tifa and what they're all about. Final Fantasy VII is a pretty old game, so I think it's worth just having a little refresher here in case, our memories have gotten a little bit foggy. After the refresher, we'll jump right into the decision making, so let's get to it. Just wanted to put up a spoiler alert here. I think it goes without saying that it's pretty inevitable that there will be some spoilers while we're having this discussion. So if you don't want a few bits of a 20-year-old game spoiled, I recommend just refraining from watching this video or just being chill about it, because we're gonna talk about a few story details along the way. Alright, here we go. So first up, let me tell you about Aerith. What to say about Aerith? The flower girl. The unwavering, loyal companion who is connected with really one of the most saddest, if not the saddest, moment in video games. You know what I'm talking about. Aerith is definitely the girl that you would want to introduce to your parents if she were actually not an imaginary game character, since that would be embarrassing. But yeah, when you first meet Aerith, she comes off as this totally shy, innocent girl gardening at the church in Midgar, and really your first impression of her is so far from the truth, because actually she's super sassy, blunt, she likes to take action, she's flirtatious. She's such a courageous and proactive character, and I think this is something that a lot of people forget about her. Maybe because of how she's portrayed in Advent Children, where she's a bit more soft and her maternal aspects are emphasized a bit more. But yeah, she's quite the character. Just to list a few things that Aerith does that show off her street smarts and her courage. There's one part in the game where she fools a bunch of perverted dudes into buying flowers from her at like way more than the actual price she sells them for. Like I said, she's super flirtatious and fun. She lives in this really kind of slummy, terrible place, but she's unfazed by that and she knows her way around. There's one point in the game where she actually basically barters herself to this perverted dude, Don Corneo, and at the same time convinces Cloud to cross-dress so that they can carry out this weird plan to infiltrate like this S&M dungeon and rescue Tifa and get information to help them on their quest against Shinra. As I'm sure you recall, she's also an awesome healer, super handy to have in the party. And as we all know, she always puts everyone's needs before hers, to the point where she ends up meeting a very tragic end in the game. Very sad, touching segment of the story. Man, that was so crushing. Comment if you cried during that scene. So that's a bit of what comes to mind for me about Aerith. And I also have a quote from Tetsuya Nomura, who is the principal character designer on FF7, and as you probably know, he's been a huge powerhouse in the FF series since the 1990s. So here's what he has to say about Aerith. She is the most motherly of all FF characters. Even in high-tension scenes, once she appears, things calm down. That's how healers are, isn't it? If I get the chance to have her appear again in the future, I want to try even harder to show not just her healer side, but also how she's not as innocent as she acts. That's Nomura on Aerith. So that's a bit about Aerith. Check out the Final Fantasy Wikia if you want more details. Next up is a quick refresher on Tifa. So about Tifa, Tifa, the martial arts badass, the childhood friend who you had unresolved sexual tension with, the one who any good man or woman would be pretty foolish not to settle down with because she's super caring and a total babe. Compared to Aerith, Tifa is a much tougher character, at least on the surface. She's a prominent player in a terrorist group, Avalanche, and she can actually just crush people with her bare hands, which is pretty sexy. But what people often forget looking back at the game is that under this exterior of a tough girl, she's actually quite shy and caring and even a bit insecure. Just like Aerith, there's really more to her than meets the eye, and I think she gets deeper as the game goes on, which is cool too. One of the really inspiring things about Tifa is just how she seems to love Cloud so much. You may remember at one point in the game where she literally gives up on the quest to save the world so that she can go and take care of an injured Cloud and nurse him back to health, physically and emotionally. And that was a really special segment of the game, and I thought it really showed the beauty of Tifa's character. So that's a little bit of what I remember about Tifa. And yeah, here's another quote from Nomura. Let's hear what he has to say about Tifa. As a symbol of light, like Sephiroth, it's possible that she too was incorporeal. That last scene where she goes off to search for Cloud, you could say, is a metaphor for how Cloud's light still hasn't lost him, even though he's disappeared off with his darkness, and it is trying to shine on him again. I'm pretty sure I didn't manage to get all that across very well. So it's interesting that Nomura thinks he kind of failed at getting that across. What do you think? Alright, so that's a brief recap of Aerith and Tifa, and now let's jump into the decision-making process, because I know you want to know, for real, finally, who is the #1 girl from FF7? Is it Aerith or is it Tifa? Let's get to it. So yeah, basically what I did for part 1 of the decision-making process, ask people on the internet, is ask people on my social media, hey, do you prefer Aerith or Tifa, and why? And yeah, I feel that just asking people on my Instagram and Destructoid was probably the best way to get a representative sample for this survey, so here we go. Okay, here's the first vote from Carrick52. Tifa, for her attitude and how fun she is in Dissidia. She's pretty fun in Dissidia, isn't she? Next is from Home of the Blues. Tifa, no doubt about it. A kickboxer with wonderful breasts behind tight suspenders and tight clothes? Sign me up. No arguing with that, I guess. From Dinosaur. Aerith is the obvious choice. If you like shit waifus. Oh! By the way, you should check out my video about my waifu. It's pretty funny. Right, Bob? Check it out. The Navi is a lie. Tifa. No competition. I am 16-bit. Both. And there we have the first comment of no doubt many pushing for polygamy. Ikirio. Why not both? .gif. Me ghouls. It takes the two of them for a menage. Historia Reisu. I don't know. I think they're both pretty hot. Okay, so at this point I needed to jump in and say, okay, yeah, they're both hot, but if you had to choose, who would you choose? And the answer was Tifa. Moving on, Scoutmaster 14. Tifa. Reason 1, I like black hair. 2, she isn't dead. Being not dead is probably pretty good criteria when you're choosing who you should date. Necrophilia is bad. Metem Knight. Aerith Franklin. Great. The f***ing kids in the school next to my house are unleashing some crazy battle chants when I'm trying to make this video. Awesome. We'll just wait till this is finished. Are you finished? I'm trying to talk about my waifus. Alright, we're just gonna push through it. So again, Meta Knight. Aerith Franklin. I wonder if you had 1967's 24-year-old Aretha Franklin in mind when you wrote this, or 2017's 75-year-old Aretha Franklin. Well, I guess this one goes to Aerith. Lex. Or maybe Eris? That's a funny one. In case you didn't know, another point of contention from FF7 stems from the translation of Aerith's name from Japanese into English. In the original North American release, it was written as Eris with an S, but from Kingdom Hearts onward, it was changed to Aerith. So this change in spelling from Eris to Aerith seems to delight people who view themselves as some kind of Final Fantasy VII purists. And they always hate on the Aerith's spelling. And yeah, the Japanese su is often used for a English sound because that sound doesn't exist in Japanese. But if you're translating from Japanese to English, if you're going to translate it as a s or a th, you really need the context for that, which the original translators didn't have. So yeah, it really could have went either way. And to be honest, the actual spelling of Aerith, if you Romanize it from Japanese as accurately as possible, is Earisu. So I guess you're all wrong. Nico Pelm. Tifa, because she's childhood Cloud's friend. Friend. Okay, here comes a long one from Glam and Glucose. My answer would be Tifa, coming from a straight female, non-appearance oriented perspective. Winky face. Tifa has long been my favorite character in video games. I think she is a fantastic role model for women, strong, patient, kind. She has selfless interactions and keeps going through the hard times. Her support for Cloud is unconditional. She takes care of Marlene, and later Denzel, as if they were her own, and is always a reliable friend to the rest of the group. On top of that, she is a badass who can fend for herself through many years of hard work and training. Kind of a long comment, but there's my answer. You said that very well, Glam and Glucose. I can't say that I have anything to add. Nice reply. Crazy Gamer Girl. Tifa. Stella GR. I haven't played FF yet, but Tifa is one of the cutest, prettiest girls I've seen. So, Tifa. Also, I wanted to ask, are you Asian in some way, in some shape, way, form? First, I agree with you, and two, no. X Nikki Momo X. Tifa. Because LOL. Michelle Turner, 96. Aerith. Because she died before she could have made a difference in 7. I see this as one of the great tragedies of modern storytelling. Not a tragedy in terms of the quality of the storytelling, because I think that moment is one of the things that really made Final Fantasy VII as powerful as it was, but I mean in terms of just how damn sad that was. That was heart-wrenching. And yeah, I think I agree with you, she died before she could make a difference, but I do think the actions she set in motion ultimately did make a difference. So I think beyond the grave, she was able to make a big impact like she wanted to. Alright, so that's the end of part 1 of the decision-making process. Ask people on the internet. And now we're gonna move on to part 2. Ask my mom, because she's an all-knowing god in the FF fanscape. And basically, her opinion is not opinion when it comes to FF things. It's fact. So we'll leave it to her to decide who is number 1, Aerith or Tifa. Let's call my mom. Hello?
Hi.
So basically, ever since Final Fantasy VII came out about 20 years ago, people have always been arguing about whether or not Aerith or Tifa are the best match for Cloud, and also just generally, which girl do they prefer based on their personality and appearance, or, you know, if you were gonna date one of these girls, who would you date?
I probably wouldn't.
Well, that's fair enough. But let's use our imagination here. So just first of all, I asked a whole bunch of people on my social media, and it's good to hear what people on the internet think, but I thought that maybe your decision would be the final decision, because probably you know the most about Final Fantasy, right?
Yeah. A lot about Final Fantasy. I don't know a thing about Final Fantasy.
Alright, so first of all, I'm just curious, what is your impression of each girl?
I think they're both caring, but I don't know how Aerith? I don't know how she ended up dying. If she died for someone else, it kind of sounds like she did to protect someone.
Yeah.
Who did she die to protect? Cloud or who?
Basically to protect everyone. She didn't want Cloud and other friends getting hurt, so she went off by herself to try and summon this thing called Holy.
That's why I think she is a person of more, I don't know, I wouldn't say depth, but she's the one that would give the ultimate. She gave her life. That's how I kind of feel about it. Something like that is real love for a person, or for your community, right?
Right.
That you would give your life.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're both motherly, but she was more of a mother. You know, to that more mother quality where she'd give her life for her child or for her family.
Right.
That's how I kind of feel about it. I know Tifa, she gave up there at one time and went back to look after Cloud.
Yeah.
There's hurt in there. But it's not the same thing as looking after someone because maybe she had feelings for him, I don't know. But to give your life for someone is something else.
Absolutely, yeah. I kind of see probably who your favorite is, but what do you think about Tifa?
Because I don't know a lot of the story. Like, I just kind of touched on it a bit, and I'd have to go back and read the game.
Yeah.
But it seems like she... I guess they both started out... I don't know if both was kind of not a revenge, but a kind of what they did to their families.
Yeah, in a sense, you could say that.
She doesn't really have any special power. She's a fighter.
Yeah, she doesn't have any particularly special powers.
They kill her parents?
Yeah, basically... when Sephiroth burns down the village, she finds her father dead. For her, it's like really rooted in revenge to join this terrorist group, Avalanche.
Do you think it's rooted in Aerith? It's not revenge on her part, though. It's more protection of people.
Her approach is more kind of like protection of people, more maternal than focused on revenge. Yeah.
They should do a movie on that. Like the game, but they should do a movie on this. This would be a fantastic movie.
Yeah, there is a movie that's a sequel to it, but I think too it would make an awesome movie.
I think it would be too.
Alright, so we talked a little bit about Aerith and Tifa, so conclusively, who do you prefer, and who do you think is the best woman?
Best girl.
Yeah.
Best woman for if a man was going to have her, I would say Aerith. She's very maternal, but her thing is she's protective, and she's so protective that she gives her life up. It's the ultimate sacrifice, really.
Really, yeah.
Where the other one, she's not sacrificing herself. She's fighting, but she's not the ultimate sacrifice, which is your life. I think Aerith, even her look looks more motherly. The other one looks more, her character looks more fighter strength. Maybe not. I think Aerith got a more caring look about her, too.
Yeah.
More motherly look than Tifa. Tifa seems maybe more worldly.
Right. Yeah.
Where it's not, but I think Tifa looks more worldly.
So your decision is Aerith.
Yeah.
There you have it, Aerith. Yeah, that's a tough one. People talk about it a lot because they both have different qualities that are appealing, I guess, to people. It's really sad that Aerith, how she passes away in the game.
That'd be really sad. Who was she trying to save at that time? And what does Cloud do then?
It's really complicated, but Sephiroth he's using a sort of body as a host, and part of that body kind of detaches and transforms into a monster who Cloud fights. And
that's almost like Harry Potter.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, what happened in the end of Final Fantasy VII? She died. Do you think it kind of spoiled the story, though, with Aerith dying?
I think it makes everyone really sad, and of course everyone wishes Aerith didn't die. But I think it also makes the story really powerful, where it wouldn't be otherwise. Because even though she dies, her kind of impact lingers for the rest of the story.
So what do you think Tifa feels for Cloud?
I would say she loves him a lot.
You think Aerith did? Probably not.
It's always hard to say. because she flirts with him pretty openly in the game.
Aerith.
And there's like touches of romance. So it's always a question of what could have been.
Yeah.
I think when it comes down to it at the very end, like there are all these characters who have potential like romantic interests, or there's lots of really other interesting characters in the game too. They all have different problems or relationships with, you know, foster children or what this or that. But I think when it comes down to it, for me, maybe the game, even though it has those undertones, it's not so much a love story.
No.
Because to the end, the kind of gravity of what's unfolding around the characters is so great that there really isn't time to fulfill any of these loves.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad, but...
Yeah, well, very sad that she dies.
Yeah.
Tearjerker. Got red wine there?
It is, no, this is coffee.
Which one did you... How did you feel about Aerith? Which one did you like? If you were a guy, like, who would you want for a wife?
Gosh, it's really tough, but... I think... It's so tough, because I think for me, I think Tifa is a character who... She gets deeper and deeper over the course of the story. And her feelings for Cloud are really inspiring. I totally love the part where she just decides to give up on saving the world just to chase after him and try and take care of him, because she really loves him very deeply.
Hers is more of a love thing, too, where Aerith wasn't really maybe love. It was more like family.
Yeah, like
maybe.
Maternalistic or something almost.
Yeah.
So I think Tifa is great in that way, but I also really respect Aerith a lot because she's really charismatic and totally selfless, like you're saying. I don't know, it's so tough to pick one.
She's a real protector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things about this story is that basically none of the characters are anything like what they seem to be on the surface. You have Tifa, who's like kind of really perky tomboy, but actually she's really shy and reserved and maternal and protective herself. And then you have Aerith, who seems really shy and reserved and innocent, but actually she's quite flirty and blunt and she takes action. Then you have people like Cloud, who's has this kind of image of being a tough super soldier, but he's actually the reject of some experiments done by Shinra. And he's got like all kinds of terrible mental problems and depression.
Do you think that's from the experiments they've done now?
Yeah, partially.
I think they should make a movie out of that.
Yeah.
Like have a series like Lord of the Rings or something like that. Have the series or Harry Potter, and I think it'd be wonderful if they made that. I think it'd be a great show.
So definitely you prefer Aerith?
Yep.
Aerith is the one, but
Aerith is,
who is hotter?
Tifa is. She looks hotter.
Yeah,
but,
I think people would agree with you.
Yeah, but I don't go by looks.
Yeah.
That's what happens with some people. You know, some guys, they go by looks, but they don't really break down and see what the person is.
Yeah.
That's important.
Why is Tifa hotter?
Just the way she looks.
She looks good? Okay.
She's 37, 24, 35.
Oh, you have measurements for her?
Yeah, 37, 24, 35.
Oh, I actually didn't know that, so I learned
her dark hair, and then it comes together at the bottom. They showed how her hair comes together at the bottom and forms like a dolphin thing. She's very, I think she's very modern looking, I guess you would say modern.
Yeah.
Her Aerith isn't so much. For the mother thing.
So
that's how I see it.
So Tifa's hotter, but Aerith is kind of has a motherly hotness.
She's very protective and maternal, and she gave her ultimate, and that's giving her life. And you can't give any more than that.
Yeah. The last thing, so after kind of talking about this, I know you don't really play games or anything, but do you have an interest in Final Fantasy?
Yeah, I'd like to see the movie. I'd love for it to come out in a movie.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd watch it if it did. Do you think they'll ever put it out in a movie?
That would be great, but I think they're focusing on making the new remake of it, so... A movie may be unlikely, but that would be awesome.
Well, you never know.
Well, thank you for answering my questions.
Okay.
So,
take your time.
That's the affirmative confirmation we're looking for. Aerith is number one.
Aerith is number one, but Tifa's the hottest.
But Tifa's the hottest.
Yeah. Okay, then.
Alright, thank you. I'll let you go to bed then.
Yeah,
I know it's
okay.
late over there.
Good. Talk to you again.
Alright, love you.
Bye-bye. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Now I gotta get off here. No, that's not it.
Alright, so there you have it. The decision is final. Aerith. But Tifa is hotter. Although the internet seems to favor Tifa, I guess you're all wrong. Aerith is the winner of this battle. But my question is, what do you think, personally? Please let me know in the comments, because I love talking about this, because it's not just a simple matter of like, oh, who's my waifu? These are both really compelling characters who have a lot going on for them, and FF7 is a complex story, and just the way they interact with Cloud and the characters around them is super interesting to discuss, so please drop me a comment about it. As far as my 2 cents goes, I think Tifa is a character who gets deeper over the course of the game, and I find her inspiring in different ways. Like Glam and Glucose said, she is a very strong, cool female character who's really like a role model for females. She's kind of like a way better, more compelling Lara Croft. And yeah, her unconditional, undying feelings for Cloud are really inspiring too. That part of the game where she just gives up on saving the world to go take care of him, that's really touching and really sweet. I love that. It was unexpected and very beautiful. I also respect Aerith a lot though, because she's just so charismatic and so selfless. When Sector 7 is under attack, she protects Marlene instead of herself. She's always going out of her way to take care of the people around her. And as we know in the end, she goes off to the Forgotten Capital by herself to try and summon Holy and ends up making the ultimate sacrifice. So she's really a really iconic martyr in video gaming, and I respect her character a lot for that, and I think she's super compelling. Honestly, I think Aerith might be the biggest reason why people keep talking about FF7 so much to this day, because her character and her death were just so impactful, so she's a great character. So yeah, Aerith and Tifa, 2 really classic characters and so hard to pick one, but it really makes me think about how one of the best things about FF7 is just that all these characters have a superficial side, which is just worlds apart from who they actually are. And I think that is one of the things that lends itself to some really compelling storytelling in the game. Just as you get introduced to these characters, and slowly over the course of the game, what you think about them unravels and you get exposed to the true nature of their character. Obviously we just talked about Tifa. She's kind of this perky tomboy, but actually underneath she's a bit shy and insecure and has really strong maternal instincts. Aerith, on the other hand, appears to be really innocent and shy, but actually she's quite flirtatious and blunt and proactive. And then we have Barrett. He initially just comes off as this muscle-bound character, something like Clubber Lang in Rocky III, just a total brute of a guy. But as you start to see more of him, you see how much he cares about the people in his organization. You see how really he's just like a surrogate dad trying to make a life for his adopted family, and he's also very concerned about the environment. So he's more than meets the eye as well. Not to mention, obviously, Cloud, who seems to be this tough super soldier, but as you learn over the course of the game, he has some pretty intense insecurity issues. He's basically a rejected experiment, and man, I don't want to talk too much about that since it's unrelated to Aerith and Tifa. I don't want to spoil anything that isn't necessary, so yeah, play FF7. Cloud is a really messed up guy. I think maybe the only character who you can take at face value is probably Sid. Sid in FF7 is just this angry, loud pilot, and once you get under the surface of Sid, you discover that he is just an angry, loud pilot, and that's all there is to it. So yeah, picking between Aerith and Tifa, isn't that just the toughest decision ever? I feel like a lot of people favor Tifa. I suspect that perhaps sex appeal might have something to do with that. What do you think? One thing I wanted to mention is just that the Final Fantasy fandom is totally obsessed with this question, but should this even be a thing to begin with? FF7 itself, although it has hints of romance, is not a love story at all. All these characters are just caught up in these events, the gravity of which completely divorces them from the possibility of actually pursuing any romance. So that's kind of sad actually, but it's also part of the beauty of the story. Like any great heroes, they're basically sacrificing themselves to help save the world. And that leads to many beautiful moments in that story, that's for sure. Honestly, I think it is really fun to talk about these relationships because that's what makes these games so fun to talk about years after they come out. I mean, 20 years later, and here we are, still talking about Aerith or Tifa. But you heard it here today. My mom says Aerith is the best, but Tifa is hotter. So yeah, if you like this video, please like it and please share it with your friends. And also let me know in the comments if you like another video like this, and if so, what series or what characters should I talk about? Well, that's all for now, and I'll talk to you next time. And for me personally, Aerith or Tifa, you beat me.